So I've had quite a few requests recently to do some guides for Fight Night. It's been a good while since I've last did a guide, and I've developed a considerable amount of additional experience since then. So I'd like to talk about in this video using simulation against a spammer. Now, as you can see from this guide, this record is sort of medium to high skill spammer. He doesn't just throw spam straights, he does mix it up a little bit, but as the fight progresses and he gets more frustrated, you'll see the spamming becoming more prevalent. First thing to mention really is that even though you're aiming for simulation style, you still need to attack his stamina no matter what. So I'd committed before I had this fight to stick to simulation no matter what, and I pretty much do on the whole, unless you can tell me you're different. But I still have quite a heavy focus, certainly in early fight, on taking the stamina out of him by using body shots. So for the first 3 rounds, I'd say, is when your punches are going to be the most powerful, and that is when you can do the most damage to an opponent's stamina. The more stamina you have, the more powerful your punches are, and the more damage you do to your opponent. If you land counter punches, that causes even more damage, and obviously power shots create more damage again. And if you manage to land a power shot as a result of a counter, then that's probably the biggest damage bonus you can get. So as you can see here, I'm focusing on the body just to try and take some wind out of him, so that will then affect him mid to late fight and mean that he doesn't have as many stamina reserves to use for his spamming, and his spamming will become less and less effective. That then allows me to focus on simulation and not have to worry as much about getting flash knocked down or flash KO'd. So for the first few rounds, focus on draining the stamina, as well as trying to remain sim and mixing it up with the head, as well as the body, and just control the distance effectively if you can. There's 2 places you want to be with a spammer: either really close, uncomfortably close for them, particularly if they've got a long reach, so they can't use the effective range of a straight spam punch, or just outside of that range. You only want to be outside of that range if you are fighting on the back foot and they are coming towards you. Otherwise, you're going to get caught a lot, and it's the most dangerous place to be when a spammer is throwing straight rights at you. The further you are away, the more powerful their shots are if they connect with you. So basically what you want to do, attack the stamina initially, making sure that you try and win the rounds as well by mixing it up and attacking the head, whilst preserving your own stamina. And then as you get to mid-fight, if you've done everything right, you can then relax and just focus on enjoying simming them to death, basically, which is what I try and demonstrate during this fight. You can already see that I'm starting to fight on the back foot now, and he's coming towards me because he knows he's going to lose on points, and he's not getting anywhere. I'm throwing counter body shots as well as headshots, and he starts to get more and more frustrated, and becomes a bit more slappy, losing his composure, and that is what you want, and that allows you to focus on sim and minimise the risks of their spamming ruining that for you. Stamina management, I can't stress how important stamina management is in this game. It is the single most important factor in determining your likelihood of winning the fight, and the sort of maintenance of an advantage during the fight depends heavily on stamina. Mid to late fight, your objective should be to retain as much stamina as you possibly can whilst theirs being depleted. What this does is it allows your punches to be fast, accurate, and dealing high damage, whilst theirs is the opposite, slow, inaccurate, and not much damage at all, which makes the spamming ineffective, which is where we want to be. So stamina management then, I have talked about this in previous videos, but I'll go into it in a bit more detail, although I probably will do a video in itself, because it's such a deep subject that I can't really explain it all here. But basically, the only way of developing your stamina management is through practice, trial and error, finding the right build for yourself, finding the right punch set, the right style, and then finding your flow and learning how many punches you can throw on average during a round without depleting too much stamina. If you throw in combinations, then that obviously increases your risks of depleting stamina, especially if you get hit with a counter shot. The lower your stamina is when you take a hit, the more damage it does to your health, and the more it takes away from your stamina and reduces your regeneration. So you want to be aiming for gold standard at least 10% stamina regeneration for each round. If you can do that, then you'll probably only lose about 5% per round, which mid to late fight will pay dividends for you, because you will, by the time round 10 comes, you'll still have between 50 and 60% stamina left, and hopefully there will be more like 20 or 30%, which is the difference that gives you the edge. It's taken me years to master stamina management, and I now subconsciously know how many punches I can throw during a round, and roughly how much stamina regeneration that will equate to in my decision making around how many punches I throw is what I'm trying to achieve and what I'm willing to sacrifice, because the more punches you throw, the more stamina you deplete, and the riskier it is. But if you're losing on points, then generally you need to throw more punches to win the rounds, or if you're trying to attack stamina, then you're not going to be able to do that effectively if you're not throwing many punches. So, like I say, it's a very deep subject. I probably shouldn't go into it much more than that, really, other than to say that it comes from trial and error and a lot of experience. I can't really teach you how to manage your stamina, because it just comes with time. If I could teach you how to do it, I would. But I would literally have to coach you for weeks, and I don't have the time, sadly. Gaming's a hobby for me at the moment. Maybe one day that'll change in the future, I don't know, but for now, you'll have to stick with these videos. Back to the fight then. And you can see he's getting more frustrated and starting to throw the straights, and he's trying to close me down. And this is where it's ideal to control the distance. As you can see, I'm constantly sort of backing off and making it uncomfortable for him. You notice that he starts to use the push spam straights, which is the sort of trademark of a spammer. Two ways to deal with that. The main way, and I think the best way, is to throw a punch preemptively as he's sort of engaging in the push animation. This can stop the movement completely and cause quite a lot of damage. And also it can throw them off balance and mean that the punches are nowhere near as accurate just by landing a jab before the animation completes. The other way really is side strafing and then using a counter punch. The problem with that is the timing required for that is it needs to be exact, and if you get it wrong it can backfire, because as you side strafe that uses stamina, and if your stamina depletes just before you take a power straight, then that really increases your chances of suffering a flash knockdown or a stun state or even a one punch. So for me, dealing with a push straight, try and predict when they're going to do it and open up with punches as they do, and probably 70% of the time you'll disrupt the movement. Okay, what else? So another thing they'll try and do is get you to walk onto the punches. As you can see, he's trying to get me to do it now. What I would say to that is you need to retain your discipline and keep your distance. It is really tempting to get drawn into a toe-to-toe fight with a spammer like this, but as soon as you do, they will start backing off like he's doing now and generating an ideal distance for their straight punch to connect with you with the highest chance of causing a lot of damage or a stun or a knockout. So your objective really at the start of every round, as well as everything else that I've said, is to land some punches and generate a lead in terms of how you're scoring the round, and then use that advantage to control the rest of the round by making them follow you and fight on the front foot whereas you're on the back foot. Fighting on the back foot is much easier to counter and control range and puts the opponent at a disadvantage. Fighting on the front foot is generally very difficult and leaves you wide open to spamming. So you want to fight on the back foot. Obviously, as the fight goes on, if you sort of get 2-3 rounds ahead, then the pressure is removed from you to sort of score the points and generate the lead at the start of the round, and you can sort of just wait for them to come to you, because if they don't, they will lose. So unless they're a bit stupid, they will come on the attack once you generate that lead throughout the fight. As you can see, I've started to do now. I just sort of stand in place and wait for him to come, because he hasn't got a choice, otherwise he will just lose. And you'll notice that he starts getting more aggressive now, more desperate, which is great, because that means that he's leaving himself more open with better opportunities for counter punches and causing a lot more damage. And this is where you can really concentrate on sim fighting now, in the sort of knowledge that your stamina is in a much better place than his, and he also is forced to approach you rather than the way around. Like, I do sort of lose my discipline a bit here and go towards him, but it's mainly because I'm confident that his power is depleted and he's struggling. You can see the volume of his punches is massively decreased as well, because he will know that he's gassing and he doesn't want to expend any more stamina than he has to. But he's in a sort of impossible situation, because he knows that if he doesn't throw punches, he's going to lose the round and lose the fight. And that is where you want him to be. And this is why he's trying to get me in a corner and push me and spam me in the corner. But if you know how to deal with that, then they've got no chance. And most spammers rely solely on spamming. They haven't got a backup plan. So if you know how to deal with their spamming, it really does hamstring them. And that's where it gets quite enjoyable. With a pool like this, sim fighting them is very achievable. But I should warn you that if you get what I like to call a professional spammer who has developed a sort of spamming build that is designed for spamming and is very effective at spamming, this is unlikely to work. The main reason being because of how broken the game mechanics are when it comes to spamming. If you've got a professional spammer, what will happen is if you start sim fighting them, they will just abuse you with the straight power punch or the chicken wing, and they will land a lot because you're leaving yourself open doing combinations and trying to fight properly. And you're much more likely to get stunned by it and deplete your stamina as well, because the professional ones will start hitting your body if your punch output is high. Now some people disagree with me on that and say that you can beat anyone with sim. I disagree. If anyone can provide evidence of beating a pro spammer using sim skills, then I'd be very interested to know and learn myself, because I haven't seen any evidence of it. I've been criticised recently for being a spammer myself. I don't deny that I do use spamming, but it's always in retaliation, and it's usually against the worst kind of spammer who really just deserve to have the day ruined, and that at the end of the day is always my objective with people like that. I sort of have it in the forefront of my mind how many people's days they've ruined over the months or years that they've been playing the game. How many normal people have left the game because they've tried to have a bit of fun online and just been ruined by some straight punch spammer who knows what they're doing. So if you do ever see a video of me spamming a spammer, it'll either be because I've lost my temper and I'm having a bad day and I just can't be bothered, because I'm only human at the end of the day, and I've been putting up with this crap for a long time now, or it's because I know that if I start trying to do sim, that I will lose and they will win, and I just can't cope with the idea of them getting satisfaction out of winning. And you could call that childish, but for me it's more important that they lose and their day is ruined, or at the very least they're a bit annoyed. And I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I'd be grateful if you could let me know in the comments, to be honest, because I don't really have much of a consensus. So anyway, back to the purpose of the video. The sort of idea behind it was just to give you some knowledge on using simulation fighting. I'd like to think I'm quite good at simulation fighting, and it is very enjoyable when it works well and it looks great, but it does have its limits, and it can be frustrating, because if you're trying to play the game properly and you just get someone who's abusing the game mechanics and the game punishes you for trying to stay true to sim, it really does become a bit soul destroying. But I hope that I've sort of given you some knowledge to work with there. And obviously, just to recap, the main points really is to 1, attack their stamina, 2, preserve your own stamina, 3, control the distance effectively, 4, win the rounds, control the fight, and fight on the back step, and 5, maintain your discipline and your composure and stick to your plan. The main if you stick by those main points, you can't go far wrong. Most of my losses historically have been when I've deviated away from my plan, lost a bit of discipline, or got a bit overexcited, or got obsessed with getting the knockout. Stick to your plan, maintain discipline. Thanks for watching the video. It's going to come to an end in a minute. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment. Let me know what you think, and I'm happy to tell you what I know. More videos to come. Thanks for watching.